in Elizabeth, which was built around a heavy industrial center, and you'll see it as we go along. The Arctic Hill, which flows into Port Elizabeth and North Section. The result of EDC efforts along with our partners have changed both the physical setting of the neighborhood as well as the socioeconomic character of the neighborhood.
If you want to be
For the
chief of police for
residents, and that will be reflected on our tour this afternoon.
afternoon.
So our first speaker is here, and I would just like to introduce to you our first ward Councilman Manny Grova Jr., who has been there from the beginning with us and still remains committed to the revitalization effort in Eastport as well as citywide. And I would like to introduce to you Councilman Manny Grova, who just recently been elected at large. So he's going to be taking this model from Eastport and transport it throughout the city. So I would like to introduce to you Mr. Councilman Manny Grova.
So you guys had a good meeting? Excellent, excellent.
And it starts with being in Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, listen, you're in my neighborhood. Just to give you a little background, I was born and raised 132 Magnolia Avenue, which is half a block from here. My parents still there. They spent half the time before I met here. And when I got married in '92, I moved over to Clark Place, which is about 4 blocks that way.
Great.
So I've been here 46 years of my life, all of them. One thing that's very important to me, and I'm glad you guys are all here because you need to hear it if you don't mind this before it's not so to speak. One thing that's very important to me in this neighborhood that I grew up in is that it has always been a working class neighborhood. Dating back to when the Singer sewing machine factory existed, Thomas and Bex was at its best, and Phelps Dodge was at its best. All these big factories which produced a lot of product for this country and for the world. And as you know, in our United States of America, we don't produce anything anymore, okay? Unfortunately. But when that all started happening in the 80s, a lot of the folks down here got stuck in that economic downturn because my mom, who used to work at Singer at the time back in the late 70s and 80s, used to make enough money back then to raise a family. And my dad worked at Carteret U.S. Metals, which was also a factory that doesn't exist anymore. But it was enough income back then that they were actually a great middle class family because it was enough to raise a family. They got benefits, full benefits, nothing like what we get now. I mean, it's much better. And all of that doesn't exist anymore. All of those labor-intense jobs with minimal education, where you can actually raise a family doesn't exist. So we need housing that's going to support that new middle class basis, if you want to still call it middle class. And so I know that Wells Fargo has been a great partner in bringing the dollars to this community to make that dream a reality. Okay? And I know EDC has worked hard in coordinating federal dollars, state dollars, county dollars, and obviously private dollars from Wells Fargo and other institutions, because all the projects that you're going to have an opportunity to tour were all built within the last 10 years. Okay. And they include probably over 1,000 residential units. Maybe Jose or somebody can correct me, but I believe we're at 1,000 units down here that are brand new. And all of them, or most of them, are for that working class family. And unfortunately, the income is not what it used to be in terms of what we know as middle class, but it's still people that go to work every day, and now they have a nice place to live and they can afford it. And that's something that I, as a councilman and as a resident of this neighborhood for many years, it's very dear to me to make sure that everyone that lives here has an opportunity to live in a nice house and not get strangled by the overhead. I mean, a lot of families now are going through that with the banking industry in general. The mortgages and bought houses that were valued at high numbers, and now they're not worth the same amount. I mean, there's a lot of that going on, but at least the tenants and the rental units are still stable, and we've been able to, as a result, improve this neighborhood. Because if somebody has a house and a home, it's not even a house, it's a home. They have a home to go to every night. It makes growing up and raising a family and that a whole lot easier. Instead of thinking, where am I going to live tomorrow? So it's, I thank you as a councilman, as a resident. I thank you for what you have done in all of your meetings and making sure that dollars came to work. And I ask you and I beg you to continue. Because I know Wells Fargo's got money. I know a lot of banks have money. Because I can tell you as an attorney, a lot of my clients have a hard time getting loans, so I know the money's there. And so they're being a little more conservative in lending, which I understand, dating back to the situations we went through in the past. But there's money there, and this is not a risk. Investing in communities like Elizabethport, in making sure that there is low-income housing for our residents, is not a risk. It's actually an investment in the future. It's an investment in the future, not for your dollars so much, but where I come from, it's an investment in the future, not for me. And EDC is going to give you guys a tour right across, a whole tour after you guys have lunch. Too bad you guys didn't have a little more time. We would take them to Manolos.
That's their favorite place when they come.
Absolutely.
That's what.
And I know you guys haven't worked in lunch, so we can't have the sangria. But
I don't have sangria.
but when you come back here at your leisure, and it's not business, okay? You stay. You come in, if you're coming in from out of state, you fly into Newark, stay at one of our Country Inn suites over here.
Some do today already.
What's that?
Some say that some hotels already.
And we built, all this stuff has been built. I've been councilman since January 1st, 1995. This has all been built in that time period. Okay? 17 years, this neighborhood has completely changed from when I was growing up. And a lot has to do with DDC and Elizabeth Housing Authority, which is here, and Brand New Day, and Elizabethport Presbyterian Center, a beautiful building here on the corner. You're going to probably see that. Is that under this? Okay. So all of these different pieces of the puzzle have come together to make a beautiful picture. And you guys are one of them. So keep it up, and I'll let you guys finish your lunch. Enjoy the tour. I won't be able to join you because I got a pile of stuff to do. I had spent the whole morning in Irvington Municipal Court, which I thought was going to be a 15-minute thing. But yes, sir.
Thank you for that presentation. It's very, very helpful, and it must be very exciting to be, as a council member, to see all these changes happen. I was wondering if you could describe the role of the city. I know that Elizabeth's been a very active city government in terms of being part of this great work. What do you see as the city's role going forward, and what's the role as a partner in this good work?
The city has always been, to an extent, our mayor has been very aggressive in going out and anything that comes out across the board that's funding development, that we can somehow fix that piece to fit in, that cog to fit into what we want to do. We're very aggressive in that sense. So we can, I can commit to you that that's things we will continue to do. Our mayor has just been reelected. I'm now part of his cabinet, the council at large, so we're going to work closely making sure that continues. The other thing that I can tell you is that from a city standpoint, we bend over backwards to make sure that the planning process, planning boards, zoning boards, figure out a way to get into the schedule as soon as possible, okay? And on the agenda as soon as possible. And we put all of our resources into making sure that the permits are issued in a timely fashion. So we're not going to be the hurdle that stops the production. And that's one of the things that I can tell you, that there's a lot of cities that do become the hurdle, okay? Because I, as an attorney, I do land use work in other towns, and I can tell you I wish I could do work in Elizabeth. It's a conflict of interest, but I wish I could. The people we have in Elizabeth do work to make things happen. And I can assure you that will continue. Right now, financially, most cities, obviously, we're not in a situation to go out money, but we are going through, we continue to go through bonding process to do infrastructure. And we're correcting some of the, there's a couple of areas in Elizabeth that have been inundated with flood area, because they say, what is it, El Nino, is it? But there's been areas that never used to flood, and all of a sudden, flood. So last night, as a matter of fact, on our city council, we just bonded $12 million dedicated to the infrastructure improvement addressing certain flood areas. We also bonded $2 million to redo improvements at our waterfront park, which is part of the section of the boardwalk that has been damaged with the storms of Irene in August. So we've already dedicated $2 million last night for that. So we're going to continue to, at least, we have to bond money and try to make it happen. And that's a guarantee for me. Any other questions?
Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. I want to thank Fatimah for inviting me and EDC calls. You're going to hear from him later on, I guess. And you guys enjoy it, okay? Because it's nice to, I always say it, it's nice to see a result from you, okay? Sometimes you put all this effort and time and dollars into something and you never see the end result. But here, one thing I can tell you is we finished the job. The one project that we've had a problem with trying to get it done is that supermarket project. I don't know if you guys are involved in that. I think
Yes.
we had it was the product of the economy. The original project was a beautiful project. It involved a supermarket, strip mall, pharmacy. There's going to be condominiums above, all kinds of things. And then the economy took a turn. The developer felt that he couldn't get rid of the condos. Residential just went bad. Still not there yet. And so they went through a couple of different changes to the project, got rid of the residential, went strictly commercial, had hard times getting loans. I mean, it just became a snowball. And we're hoping that as we move forward, we can try to get that project going, because that's definitely needed in this community. But on a lighter note, there's another gentleman who's building a smaller size supermarket down the street, privately. You know, it's a small, probably about maybe 6,000 square feet.
5,000.
5,000 square feet.
What's the brand?
Fine Fair, I think it is. Right? Is it Fine Fair?
No.
No.
What's it called?
I got it. I think of it in a minute, but it's.
I thought it was Fine Fair. I thought it was Fine Fair. Or Seatown? Is it Seatown? One of those. But it's that level. So at least it's going to help a little bit, but we still need that bigger supermarket. So that's something that's especially now. We've got so many people living here now. We need them to have something. Our closest supermarket from here is probably about 2.5 miles. It's all on the other side of town. So it's definitely a market that is definitely needed to be tapped into. Thank you guys. All right, enjoy, okay?
And I didn't ask them to say that, so thank you for jumping in on the supermarket for another. That's one of the most vital components of this whole neighborhood strategic plan for Wells Fargo Regional Foundation. And so, as the councilman indicated, we certainly have had stumbling blocks in the economy that certainly stopped us from moving forward with the initial plan, but we are currently in talks with the new supermarket land end user. We were hoping to be able to present today that we struck a deal. But hopefully in the upcoming weeks, Lois, trust me, I was working on that one really hard. We were meeting vigorously every week trying to get the finances in place.
I believe
And we actually have a commitment from a banking institution who's willing to finance this particular deal. And of course, it's going to go from, it's not going to be a mixed-use project. It's just going to be strictly commercial with the supermarket, which increasing a little size as well as some ancillary retail service for the area for that particular site there. So NJRA is at the table with us, and we're trying to strike a deal to recast those fundings that was committed to that project for some pre-development costs and acquisition. So it's moving ahead, and again, the city has been working with us diligently on giving us that, because our redevelopment agreement is sort of expired, and they're giving us time to renegotiate so all of us will not have pie on our face. So I thank you again for that, and thank you for bringing that up and letting them know that the economy is not just me saying it, but they're bankers, they understand that. But certainly at the end of the day, when we're talking about seeing our money at work, it's important that we deliver. And it's good to hear from government that they're committed to this neighborhood and committed to this city, and they're going to see it through. So again, I thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Enjoy yourselves.
Thank you very much.
Whenever you're back here, give me a call. I'll have dinner for you at my house.
Oh, and he cooks?
I do cook.
Yes, thank you.
I do cook. Take care, right? Take care, son.
Next, we got Jose Sabater, who serves as the Director of Project Development of the Housing Authority of the City of Elizabeth, who I personally had an opportunity to work with on this very project that we're currently sitting in, that we're currently occupying as our main office space. He has agreed to kick off the presentation aspect of it for the beginning of the revolution of the revitalization of the neighborhood with the success of the largest Hope 6 grant here in the state of New Jersey, actually, right? Was it? It was the largest. We still hold that. We still hold it. We like the best. We like to be the number one. We had the largest Hope 6 grant, and you can actually, as a picturist, you can actually look out and see that grant at work. So I would like to introduce to you Jose Sabater, who's going to kick off for us, and then we'll go into the presentation.
Thank you. First of all, it's my pleasure to be here with the Board of Directors of Wells Fargo Foundation. For the last, 7-8 years, every so often I used to prepare reports for Fatimah, who was supposed to submit it. So it's great to see the faces of the people that actually were reading some of those reports during the project implementation. I just want to start by emphasizing a comment that our Councilman, Manny Grova, made. And I think that that comment in many ways describes the spirit and the commitment that those of us that were involved in the implementation of the Elizabeth Port Revitalization Program had. He said that this neighborhood was always a working class neighborhood. He also mentioned that this neighborhood was always the point of entry of new immigrants, historically. He also mentioned about the loss of the manufacturing jobs as the economy transformed, which essentially had an impact in every single urban area throughout the country. Our Hope 6 project was conceived to benefit and not to change the social demographic composition of this neighborhood. This is not, and it was never meant to be, a gentrification program. Not even close. Not even close. We understood from the very beginning who were the residents of this neighborhood. We understood very clearly that high concentrations of no-income people is detrimental for neighborhoods. We also understood that we don't need necessarily families making $100,000 or 80, 90, 140% of median income in order to have a stable community. Because we certainly believe that it was possible to provide communities, at least in Jersey and in this city, in neighborhood, where working class families could live. And they could live, they could socialize, they can live a healthy life. So what we tried to do, and that was the spirit, that was the theme, and that came all the way from the top, from the mayor. And I'm emphasizing that because there's no way that you can achieve this type of agreement or compromise of understanding of the vision unless the political establishment agrees. Okay? There has to be an agreement on that concept. So that was done early on. So what we had here back in 97, 98, all the way back to the 1940s, was two public housing projects. One, Pioneer Homes. I have to check my numbers, I'm getting older. Pioneer Homes was built in 1941 with 405 units of public housing. Okay? The other project was Majority Manor, right here, which was built in 1960 with 250 units of public housing. Combined, we had a total of 655 units. Majority Manor, we had 100 units that were vacant. They were vacant because at one point they were meant to be renovated. Something happened with lead-based paint. There were all different kind of legal actions that this was actually beyond my days. But the bottom line was there was 100 units that were vacant. If you look at Pioneer Homes, which is a typical public housing project in the country, it's super black with looking towards the courtyard, no eyes on the streets. Actually, this picture was taken after I already had started demolition, but just imagine all this building here. Essentially, what it became was a typical public housing project. Infested with crime, infested with the housing was inadequate. It was built in the 1940s, small units, not necessarily conducive for a modern family life, stable family lives, and that's what we were dealing with. I can keep on describing all the negatives of the project, but essentially what we had was super black. In many ways, most of the families that occupied these units were in very good terms with the lease, which is something that I discovered. It is our perception that the crime necessarily it comes from the inside out. My theory is that many times the crime comes from the outside in, by significant others, etc. It's a combination of factors, but I'm not an expert in criminology. But that's just what we're dealing with. The bottom line was that we applied in 1997 for the Hope 6 grant. Prior to that, housing authorities that were high performers and were doing a very good job were not eligible to apply for Hope 6. But after 97, that was changed, and medium-sized housing authorities also were eligible to apply. We applied for our program, our project, and it was funded back in 97. Essentially what we have done, and you can see all over, it's actually going to be touring, is that we proposed a complete demolition of all 655 units. By the way, it was done in different phases because the buildings, we did have over 500 families living in the project, so it was very complex. Our number one goal was to reduce the density of the footprint. There was just too many people living. Too many people. So we wanted to reduce the density, which it involved site acquisition within the neighborhood, because we also didn't want to move people out to a different neighborhood because of relationship with different social, social dynamics, etc. We didn't want to do that in schools, etc. So what we did was we targeted what I used to refer undesirable sites, hard to develop sites, because part of our argument with, at least with HUD and everybody else in the country, and that's why our Hope 6 is very unique. You would notice that we didn't really build any upscale housing. You go to other Hope 6 in other cities, and you walk in and you will see that only 10% of the units are public housing, and then another 20% are between the incomes of 50 and 60, and then there's a 40% of units upscale. That was never our intention. However, the reason how we proposed that the mixed income was going to take place was based on two assumptions. One is that, in fact, this island, because it is an island, as it was, had nothing to do with the rest of the neighborhood, demographically, economically, or socially. You had an island of people here that had really had very little to do with the rest of the neighborhood. Once this was addressed by itself with the public investment, it was going to generate private investment in the neighborhood because of the location. Geographically, we were blessed with the geographic location. That was one assumption. The other assumption that we also made as an agency, and these were arguments that we had to get a lot of people with, is that, look, I'm not going to use public housing, I'm not going to use public money and public dollars to build housing for the upper middle class and the rich. I'm sure they have choices. They have many places for that's not what I'm doing. I refuse to do that. What we're going to be doing is we are going to deal with the problem in the community, and then we're going to attract those investors that are going to come to the neighborhood and we'll build those houses for them. And who cares if we build them with our public dollars or if a private investor, a developer came and built it for them. So in essence, our project was creating or facilitating the process of investment. now the process of divestment, which is what occurred and categorized urban America in the 80s and 70s. Was a process of divestment. That's what this neighborhood went through, along with many other things, redlining, redistricting, national appraisal system, all kind of stuff. I don't want to get into that. So that's what we did. So it really was creating an opportunity for investment in the process. So as a result of that, what we did was, along with addressing the housing, we understood, and that was part of HUD's requirement, was that ultimately the council here was also to develop human capital. So in the process of building human capital, that meant that we had to do a substantial investment in supportive services. And we did spend it over, just from the Hope 6 plan, over $4 million, not including the amount that we leveraged from nonprofits, etc., in providing services from daycare to training, job training. We brought a high school in partnership with a vocational school into the neighborhood that provided an opportunity for the dropouts, etc., to go for the GED. Actually, no, it was literally a high school diploma. So we did a whole series of programs that essentially what we did was we took the family and we said, okay, what are the problems of this family? And we have done in partnership with King University a feasibility study where each family was interviewed and we put together a profile of what were the needs of those families. And then a team of social workers actually went, I used to call the Avon strategy, door by door. And I said, we want to talk to you, what can we do, how can we help you, etc. So that was the extent of at that time we had a lot of money, so we were able to afford like 6-7 caseworkers that actually were working on this project, even before we even started the construction. So both things went hand in hand. We partnered with over 15 different nonprofits, from Kenya University to the vocational school to visiting nurses who were part, along with the Elizabeth Presbyterian Center and the Healthy Living Program, that we targeted the tenants or the residents that really have some real issues with housekeeping and maintaining the units. And we actually went into their homes and we assisted them, we helped them. The whole concept was not to have to rely on evictions. That was not the purpose. So as a result of that, we did acquire, the total acquisition was close to $6 million. Westport, which included railroad tracks on Port Avenue, a strip club, right by a school, by the way, elementary school. Between the same block of the school, across the street from the park, we had a go-go joint, the park for that. So that was one of the first things that we targeted. So we acquired our property that was below this neighborhood out. We took the parking lot, we took a couple of junkyards as well. We spent an enormous amount of money in geotechnical work and remediation. Incredible. I mean, this was an all industrial neighborhood, so you can imagine that was a challenge. Actually, in Westport, we discovered, I used to refer an archaeological site because it was like a freaking city underneath the ground. Because what happened was they used to do the demo in the 1940s and 1920s, and they used to cover it up. So the 8 Jose columns, and guess what? They are railroad tracks from the trolleys that were from the 19th century. I was like, wow. One day my contractor calls me and he says, you have to come down here. And I said, what's going on? I said, you got to come down here. There is something here. I don't know if I have to call somebody and say, what's going on? So one day I said, look, there's a bunch of bones there. I said, oh, come on. What is it, a dinosaur now? Or a burial? I don't remember. There was a whole issue years ago with a site that was being developed in New York City. And they discovered some bones and the historical. Once they went to the historical facts, they discovered that was an old burial site of African Americans from the Dutch period. So the whole thing stopped, and actually they have a museum there, the whole building. So everybody was reacting to very, very sensitive to those things. But so what we did was we ultimately reduced the population, the density on both sides, and we made up for the housing units by developing Westport and developing Marina Village in partnership with Brandon Day. So, on the side of McGlory Manor, we developed, which is these two blocks here, we have Forsyth Commons, which was the first project, a total of 72 units, 57 units were public housing units. At the end of the day, we did reduce the public housing units from 650 to 250 units. However, the balance of the units are tax credit units, which many of our former public housing residents were eligible. Part of the goal was to rehouse every single resident. So the plans and the numbers were designed to address those needs. So that's Forsyth Commons. Total TDC, total development cost was $10.7 million for those 72 units. Westport Homes, which is right here, on this side right here, I'm showing you, that's on 3rd Street. That's what,
Yes, we're gonna be going
yeah,
through
that's
there.
Westport Homes. I have a funny story here, but we don't have enough time to tell you about this factory. I was going to target this factory that is right here, also for eminent domain, because I wanted to build the whole thing, what factory is going to be there, until the guy owner calls me and he says, "Hey, you better come here and talk to me, we got to talk." I said, "What's going on?" So I went over there and he showed me a letter from a general from the Pentagon. The guy turned out to be a vendor for the United States Navy. At that time, the Navy was mobilized in three different, what was it, in Iraq, in Yugoslavia. I said, "Do you really think that you're going to stop the production here?" I said, "No, I don't think so." Let's see how we can do a relocation on site. So what we did was, he was kind enough, we acquired his parking lot and some woods that he owned, was underdeveloped property, and we moved his parking lot and his entrance to his factory to the other side of the building. So actually, we saved a lot of money, and he was able to stay there, and we won. I think that we won the both awards.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So they go from, I don't want to sleep that long to.
Okay. So essentially, this was the Hope 6 project. The next project that we completed was this one. What?
Yeah, okay. Big time.
Okay. The other project that we completed was here, 205 First Street, which is the green project, and I have some brochures.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay, good.
One for each, it's 20. Thank you very much.
Fatimah, can I ask, what are the rentals in these units, or what's the sales price if they're sales?
The price that the units here, they were not for sale, they all were rental.
And how
All
much,
they were rental.
how much per month?
Anywhere between 30% of median income, 30% of median
Yeah,
income,
yeah.
which is the public housing unit,
Yeah,
to all the way to 50%, 50-60% of median income, which is a tax credit unit. Public housing units is 30%. You only pay 30% of your income.
okay.
What I just distributed is the booklet on this particular building, which is a green building. It's a LEED gold building.
Okay.
This is a block right now.
Jose, thank you so much. He was going to actually go a new project. You will be the first to know. Is a vacant block that a lot that will pass by next to going towards Depot Presbyterian. He has the rendering here for that. It's going to be a senior project, correct?
No, family.
Family. Oh, okay, great.
It's 3 sites.
3 sites. Okay. So I'll put that in the report to you guys so you can get that information. Yeah, you can go
Oh,
ahead.
are they here?
No, you can.
Yeah,
Yeah, we like it.
We'll get it back.
I promise. As soon as you get
Now you
it.
charge them for us, right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jonathan. Okay, we have Bill O'Day, who serves as the Deputy Executive Director of Programs, Projects, and my direct supervisor, and overall vision for the agency, and at times for the City of Elizabeth redevelopment project. He has agreed to move forward with us on a PowerPoint presentation. So I present to you Mr. Bill O'Day.
as you see from that, if you stay mayor of the city at least 20 years, they start to name buildings.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Actually, this is the mayor's 20th year. As Fatimah said, I'm the deputy executive director at EDC. I run all of the redevelopment aspects of the agency. We work very closely with the city. We were instrumental, as you'll see later, Jersey Gardens Mall development, which, quite frankly, in my mind, has always been kind of an engine for this neighborhood. One of the biggest things we did with that particular project, to the credit of the mayor, is that area was isolated, and the proposal from the developer's perspective was just to make sure that the mall and hotels were connected to the turnpike. Our position was that the road had to connect to the neighborhood. And that was an additional $12 million of infrastructure cost. But we feel that's why so many residents of this neighborhood have been able to access employment opportunities, but also be able to enjoy the amenities that exist. Since I'm technically challenged, I had to have Jonathan. I'm just learning to use my iPad. So EDC was founded in 1977. I wasn't here then. I came here in 1993, but I've been here for almost 20 years. Our goal was to promote the vitality of the city of Elizabeth and to do comprehensive economic development. However, we have proudly, I think, developed over time. And now we really view our mission as being able to revitalize our city one neighborhood at a time. We feel that neighborhood revitalization and neighborhood redevelopment is key to cities. And historically, urban areas were neighborhoods. Over time, some of that's gone away. Part of what we look at is recapturing and recreating that sense of neighborhood. We remember neighborhood police officers. When we'd get in trouble, someone would know where to bring us home to our parents. We had places to go, things to do. So we've looked at that, and we're very, very proud of particularly this neighborhood. And if I had to change anything, I would have changed us moving down here soon. For many, many years, we were located in Midtown. We still have an office there. We own a bank building there. We'll, at some point, as we move and delve more into that neighborhood redevelopment, we'll move some of our staff there. But being here every day, it's a great feeling. You see what's happened. You also see the things we need to do. And by seeing those things every day, it inspires you and it keeps you going. You walk in here and say, what are we doing with the supermarket? What are we doing with the building across the street? We saw a lot of kids that don't have summer jobs. We need to create a summer job program. So I found it very inspiring to be here. And as you'll see, we've partnered, we view ourselves differently than a lot of similar not-for-profit development companies. We view ourselves in a partnership role. We do what we do best, and we will let other entities do what they do best. So there are better affordable housing development entities than us, like the Housing Authority, groups like Brand New Day. So what we do is assist them. Carlos and I spent 2 hours yesterday with the Housing Authority and Brand New Day on a $7.5 million LIHTC that Brand New Day got. But they still have $1 million gap. So guess who they come to help them find $1 million? Thank God we've got NRT, the Neighborhood Revitalization Tax Credit Program too, because that's going to help fill that gap. But there's a lot of other technical assistance we can provide in having done a lot of construction, worked on a lot of construction. And quite frankly, what's being great of being out here, later in the day their CFO just walked 2 blocks down and walked into my office and picked my brain for a good 45 minutes. So we're glad and happy to be here. The 205 First Street project is literally where we're here now. It created 40 construction jobs, permanent jobs that they're using public housing residents. It was a joint venture between ourselves and the Housing Authority. We put a lot of community development block grant dollars into it, some NRTC dollars in it. It's in the book, and we got solar on the roof, right?
Right.
We're very proud of the fact that we're green. Every day when we go into the kitchen,
cell phone work.
it says right on the refrigerator, we're a green building. make sure you take your cans and bottles and put them in the recycling container. So that's very good. Our next project, these are some more than just the Hope 6 projects. I'm sure Jose went into them in great detail. This tells all the tale of what the area looked like before. You're going to do the tour and see how much has changed. But there's a lot more to do. I mean, there are still many vacant buildings or underutilized buildings that need to be done. Some of the commercial retail development, as is generally the case, takes longer to get done. You've got to create the critical mass. You've got to create the new population in the area. And those are some of the things that we continue to work on. Brand new day, I guess partly the pitch. We're still trying to find some dollars to fill some of it. We got all the dollars now?
We all lined up, duck in a row. We finalized the loan agreement with the county on Monday. This project is fully ready to go.
Those of you that come from the banking background would appreciate one meeting we had here a while ago when they had the lender, who's kind of a not-for-profit lender, and they were, talking about the debt and the mortgage and the property as we are dealing with, and I think a lot of not-for-profits that do what we do are dealing with what I call the 05, 06, 07 bubble. So properties that were acquired in that period of time but weren't developed right away are quite frankly underwater. They're upside down. So I literally sat with the lender that day and said, look, if I was a private developer, I would say you've got two choices. You take a haircut on the mortgage, or here's a deed in lieu. Unfortunately, they're a not-for-profit lender, so we had to go through a little bit of a more arduous process. But we understand that. I think like a lot of not-for-profit development companies, we kind of understand the for-profits with a lot of for-profit developers. We make sure they do first source agreements so local residents get hired for jobs. Carlos does very well in filling small gaps sometimes in it. We've gotten 2 allocations of new market tax credits, totaling $35 million. We've deployed $27 million to date, and we're very close, probably by September 12th, which is the magic date for the next round of applications, poised to deploy the last $8 million of that. So this is a building that approximately a $2 million project, and we're also proud of the fact that it will include the youth building. Brand New Day has gotten youth build funding from the federal government. We see almost on a daily basis the young people going up and down the block, and that makes us feel very, very good and very proud. Next. Newport Press Center. That was, we consider that the baby that was carried 11 months as opposed to 9 months. But we're very proud of it. There's the before and after picture. Anything that could have gone wrong kind of did go wrong, but we got through it.
Yes.
And we got it done, and it's there, and it's occupied, and we're still dealing with heating and air conditioning issues. With one of the part of the great thing of being here now is that we understand that, and they come down and let us know that, and we continue to work through it. But it's great. It's a health center. It's a new health center for an area that needs it. As you know, so many urban hospitals are closing. We've had hospitals close not that far away from here, and the importance of having health centers to provide preventive care for our young people and our seniors. There's also daycare and seniors programs in this particular building. The Renaissance project is the one that I just spoke about, the one we had a meeting about yesterday. If anybody has a spare $1 million, we have a $1 million gap to fill. But we're working on that. And what we do a lot here, and quite frankly, a lot of what the funding that the foundation has provided us, is allow us to do project management assistance for these not-for-profits. Many not-for-profits, and I would just put this in as a pitch or just a statement. I think that one of the things that's not well publicized is we kind of have a not-for-profit crisis in this country, and it's just real quiet. Federal funds have been reduced so much, and with the state of the economy, the ability of foundations and corporate and private giving has been kind of made more difficult. that we find ourselves dealing with our not-for-profit partners here, and even ourselves, in how do we balance our budget each year. You know, the missions of not-for-profits are to help people. So one of the toughest things is to let somebody go. So we find, especially through the funding that we get from the foundation, we're able to provide project management services to get these projects done. Now, what do these projects do? They reduce their operating costs often, as you would see with the Eport Press Center, and they create developer fees. They generate developer fees. You know, a not-for-profit doesn't mean you can't make money. It just means you don't have a profit. And a developer fee is a way that this agency, but also a lot of our partners, have been able to generate income to be able to continue to provide close to the same level of services that they provide. Supermarket project is 3 blocks here. It's, if that was an 11-month, I don't know. This is a lifetime. This is a lifetime achievement award. We are located in one of the, sadly to say, biggest food deserts. I think that when you do what the federal government states is the average number of square footage of supermarket space per resident, we are at 10% of that. So we are at a severe food desert area. There's no large major supermarket here. This was a project we started a number of years ago. Quite frankly, the acquisition of it occurred in that bubble period. The property was purchased for well over $2 million. It's probably worth half of that today. So we are, and we continue to work. We're getting very close to putting together the pieces of the financing, filling gaps, using some state incentives that we have to bring in a new developer to come work with us to get that project done. Some of the residential that we envisioned will probably either not occur or not occur at the beginning. It would potentially occur on the back end. Right now we're talking about getting a supermarket and some retail done. And at the same time, on the outskirts of the neighborhood, we're working on another large supermarket project that includes other retail. This is about an $11 million project. That's about a $22 million project. So both of those supermarkets can well be sustained by the population and the food desert status that we have here. These are some of the schools that we're quite proud of, that we've been able to work to get done in the neighborhood. This was a former BDA site. It was a brownfield site. It was the Bethlehem Steel site. It was an old steel factory. Finding large tracts of land to do modern schools is not always easy and expensive. We're quite proud of this site. The state was able to come up with some dollars on the environmental side of it. It's got some great ball fields. I don't know, did you get the photo you were supposed to get?
Yeah.
Did you? No, you didn't get it?
But we'll see it
Turf,
on our
you got
tour.
a turf field.
Has to be some surprise.
You'll see it on the
this.
tour. You'll see it on the tour. That's down the block.
Yeah.
Go ahead. This is an early childhood education facility that's on the other end of the neighborhood. As you know, early childhood is key, especially in urban areas. Getting, they used to call it Head Start, but making sure that our very, very young get that extra assistance is something that we work closely with in helping even to find some grant dollars. Took a while for the photo to come up. That was the before picture. Jersey Gardens Mall I spoke about a lot. There's over 2,500 employees, and I guess Joe will speak later. We're quite proud of having the second, we now call it more of a one-stop shop. It was the second retail skills center in the United States. The first one was in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. We stole the idea from them, but nothing wrong with stealing a good idea. We incorporated it in there. We expanded it beyond just the retail jobs in the mall to the hotels, not just to that area, but to other areas outside, and it's very, very successful. But just to note how we kind of have to always keep reinventing ourselves. For years, we were able to fund that strictly with our urban enterprise zone dollars that have now been dried up by the state. So now we're working with them to look at whether You know, they qualify because so many of the people that go through their doors would qualify either for TANF or would qualify potentially for WIA funding. So we now started to work with them to help them reinvent themselves. May take a little bit more work, a little more paperwork, but to try to help them see how they can get access other funding, because the last thing we want to do is to watch them reduce the staff they have and the level of services that they're able to deliver. And this is our last pitch. We're not done with our efforts to revitalize the Elizabeth's neighborhood. Obviously, the foundation has helped tremendously to demonstrate how it should be done. And we really, really look forward to continuing to work with you in the future in this neighborhood, but really in other neighborhoods to really do what we want to do, which is rebuild one neighborhood at a time. Next time we have you come back, we'll have you in Midtown, which is kind of this is kind of like our preteen. We kind of call Eport now our preteen. And as you know, preteens are some of the tougher years, but they're good years. They're good years. Midtown is our baby. So we have our baby and we have our preteen. So next time we come back, we hope that we can bring you and we'll host you in Midtown and start the little baby steps that we've started this. So thanks everybody.
We had a couple other speakers, but we'll have to do that as we're riding along just to keep everyone on schedule.
Yeah, you knew if I was going to take all the time. I apologize.
Jose, so that we can move things along and we can get on the bus, and a lot of the conversation can take place on the bus as we move along. I have Joe Oliver, who's going to speak with us on the bus. He's from the Retail Skills Center. He has some great data on jobs and employment and new ventures that are taking place over there at the Retail Skills Center. We also have Zariah Lee Hamlin, who's serving as the executive director for the Eport Presbyterian Center. I think we're going to actually take a stop in there because we have yet to do a ribbon cutting for that project, because again, as Bill indicated, we're still trying to work out some kinks. We have not yet gotten all of our certifications from the state to operate the after-school programs here. So we'll get off the bus there. We'll start getting on the bus. We'll go through the back doors, get on the bus, and we'll head out over there and just keep it moving, and so we can catch up on the schedule. And then we had our final stop at Jersey Gardens Mall. So we'll ask all the questions that we need to on the bus and give you some other data.
You have enough time for shopping at the mall?
They want, the traffic.
International travelers that
So we can
come
exit out of the back doors. Yeah, you can leave everything in here. We're coming back here. Because we also going to leave you with a taste of Elizabeth. We have in our Midtown area, Varda Chocolatiers, who actually have great contracts with the airline. And if you buy a Lexus, a box of her chocolates are on the seat of it. And she's actually provided us with some stuff. Say thank you from EDC and from the City of Elizabeth to Wells Fargo Regional Foundation. So make sure you get your bag before you leave here. It's great Belgian chocolate, and it's the dark one. I was trying to make sure we remain with the healthy attitude. Absolutely.